In the depths of the Patagonian wilderness, there are places no map dares to chart, valleys swallowed by fog, rivers that vanish underground, and creatures that move like shadows between worlds. Among the mysteries that haunt these lands, one stood above them all: the vanishing of Survey Flight 214. For decades, the story was just a whispered legend. Until now. Before we begin, don't forget to like video and subscribe for more incredible tales. When a satellite scan picked up a strange metallic shape hidden in the snowy ridges of southern Patagonia, it seemed they had finally found the lost aircraft. It had disappeared one stormy night in June 1983, leaving no signal, no wreckage, just silence. But as the recovery team prepared to uncover the truth, they realized the mystery went far beyond a simple crash. Samuel Torres, a 54-year-old glaciologist, stood at the edge of the camp staring at the satellite images on his tablet. For 30 years he had studied the ice fields of Patagonia, but he had never seen anything like this. The shape buried under the glacier was unmistakably man-made, yet surrounded by strange markings in the snow, patterns no glacier or human had ever made. His assistant, a young wildlife biologist named Daniel Cruz, approached him with fresh thermal scans. "You need to see this," Daniel said, his voice tight with something between excitement and unease. The scans showed the tail of the plane tilted at a perfect 42-degree angle, a detail matching Flight 214 for exactly. By the end of the week, the operation transformed from a simple investigation to one of the largest recovery missions in the region's history. Helicopters ferried supplies in shifts. Heavy machines crawled up the icy ridges. But the deeper they went into the wilderness, the stranger it became. The first sign came when Samuel spotted it. An ocelot kept watching them from the rocks above the glacier. Ocelots were rare here, preferring dense forests to open ice. But this one, a large female, sat calmly as the team worked. Beside her, two young cubs peered over the rocks, golden eyes glinting in the weak light. "She's tracking us," Daniel whispered one evening, binoculars raised. More than just watching, the ocelots began pacing specific paths around the crash site. The mother would stop, stare into the distance, then lead her cubs carefully across the snow, always along the same routes. They're avoiding cracks in the ice, Samuel noted quietly to himself. But the realization that followed chilled him. The paths she marked weren't just safe. They aligned perfectly with the strange patterns in the satellite images. On the sixth day, they breached the fuselage. Inside, the air was sharp and dry. Time had stood still here. Magazines lay open on seats. A half-empty bottle of water, frozen solid, sat in a cup holder. Personal belongings, like a worn wallet and a wear-upon scarf, were scattered around, silent witnesses to that doomed night. In the cockpit, Samuel found the captain's log. The final entry was terse: instruments failing, winds impossible, altitude lost, passengers calm. But it was the journal found in the back that changed everything. A survivor, one of the passengers, had written daily entries during the first weeks after the crash. The first pages spoke of shock and fear. Then came the cold, the hunger. But on the fourth day came this line: "We saw her tonight. A cat in the snow. She just sat there, eyes like gold, watching us, not afraid, not hunting, just watching." The entries grew more desperate yet more strange. Day 7, food gone. But this morning there was a dead rabbit outside. No tracks, just there. Day 10, more rabbits. Always where we can reach them. As if she knows. Day 14, they circle the plane. At night, keeping the wolves away. I think they're guarding us. Day 17, only 2 of us left. She sat on the wing today, staring right at me. I wasn't afraid anymore. The final words of the journal read: "When the end comes, I'll have her here. Not alone, never alone." Samuel closed the book and sat in silence. Outside, the wind howled across the ice, and in the distance, the ocelot watched, just as the diary had described. Over the next weeks, Samuel and Daniel began noticing more signs. Small animal carcasses placed at regular intervals near the camp. The ocelot always appearing before a storm, her movements growing urgent until the men took cover. Even the cubs, still young, followed her exact steps, learning the same paths. Late one night, Daniel turned to Samuel and asked, "You think it's the same line of cats?" Generation after generation. Samuel nodded slowly. "It's not just instinct, it's memory." 6 weeks into the operation, while drilling samples, they discovered deep grooves in the ice, worn tracks layered over decades, marking the same paths the ocelots still walk today. They weren't just surviving here, they were keeping vigil when the mission ended. The remains of the passengers and their belongings were returned to their families. A small memorial was placed at the site, but Samuel and Daniel couldn't leave entirely. They returned each year to study the ocelots, documenting their patterns, their silent offerings, their tireless watch. One evening, years later, Samuel stood at the ridge as the sun dipped below the peaks. The ocelot appeared, her fur now streaked with silver, her cubs following close behind. She paused at the memorial, her golden eyes meeting his, calm, knowing, ancient. In that frozen silence, Samuel thought of the journal's final line, "Not alone, never alone." And for the first time, he understood. Here were humans and wild things shared the same brutal, beautiful wilderness. The line between them had blurred, and something extraordinary had taken root.